Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive today.
Yes, hello.
We're going to be looking at something pretty interesting, the rise of cashless economies.
All right.
So we're talking about a future, maybe not too distant future, where we're not using dollar bills or any kind of physical currency. We're doing everything digitally.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds convenient, right?
Sure, on the surface it does, but I think as with most of the topics we cover here, there's a lot more going on beneath the surface.
Absolutely. There are a whole web of potential risks and benefits that we really need to untangle.
And that's what we're going to do today. We're using this report called Cashless Economies, 3 major risk scenarios as our roadmap for this deep dive.
All right, sounds good.
And it lays out some pretty thought-provoking possibilities about what a cashless world could look like.
It's a fascinating report, really, because it asks the tough questions.
Yeah.
You know, like who wins, who loses in this, and are we really prepared for what could happen?
Okay, so let's jump into it. Let's start with the potential impact on vulnerable populations. So, I mean, it seems a little bit counterintuitive. We think of a cashless society as progress, but the report suggests that some groups could actually be left behind by this.
Absolutely. You think about like elderly people who might not be comfortable with technology.
Right.
Or undocumented immigrants who rely on cash to stay under the radar.
Yeah.
Or even just people who don't have access to bank accounts.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
The report actually highlights some pretty shocking statistics about the unbanked population. Millions of people in the United States, for example, don't have a bank account.
And globally, it's even more than that. We're talking about huge portions of the population who could be excluded.
And even if you have a bank account, there's the issue of digital literacy.
Right.
Not everybody knows how to use online banking or mobile payment apps.
It's a real challenge, especially for older generations.
Yeah, the report mentions that smartphone ownership among those over 65 in the UK is way lower than younger age groups.
And that digital divide is a big problem when we think about a cashless world.
Yeah.
How do you buy your groceries? How do you pay your rent?
Right.
If you can't use the system, it could create a two-tiered society.
All right, so let's move on to an even more unsettling topic.
Okay.
The potential for increased government control in a cashless world.
All right, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine every transaction you make is tracked and recorded.
Wow.
Buying a coffee, paying rent, everything.
That is unsettling. The report brings up China's social credit system, where citizens are given a score based on their behavior, including their financial activities.
That's right. It raises a lot of questions about privacy and autonomy.
It does. While democracies in the West have safeguards for personal data, that huge amount of information that's created in a cashless society could be misused.
And we have to think about who has access to all of this data.
The report mentions credit referencing agencies. Those companies that collect financial data about individuals.
Their role could become even more powerful.
Right.
Imagine your credit score is affected not just by whether you pay back debt, but by what you spend money on.
Okay.
Like what if buying a lot of fast food or donating to certain causes negatively affecting your credit score?
Are you saying that our spending could be used to judge our lifestyles?
It's a valid concern. It's not necessarily about the government dictating what you buy, but it's about the potential for control.
Okay, so we've got these vulnerable populations being left behind.
Right.
We've got the possibility of Big Brother watching every purchase.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Well, there's also the issue of security.
Oh, right, security.
A cashless society might seem safer on the surface.
Okay.
Fewer robberies, less need to carry cash. But it creates a whole new set of vulnerabilities. We become completely reliant on digital infrastructure.
Right.
And that infrastructure becomes a target.
For cyber attacks.
Exactly.
The report mentions some alarming examples.
Yeah, like the ransomware attack on Kaseya.
Yeah.
That's a tech provider.
Right.
That attack caused huge disruptions. A Swedish grocery store chain had to shut down hundreds of stores. They couldn't process any payments.
They couldn't even accept cash?
Nope. Their systems were completely paralyzed.
That's wild.
It shows how vulnerable we are to these attacks.
And the report also talks about how sophisticated these attacks are becoming.
Yeah.
We've got state-sponsored actors.
Right. North Korea has stolen billions in cryptocurrency.
Jeez.
And Russia has targeted banks all over the world.
It's like a digital arms race.
Exactly. As we rely more on technology, the stakes get higher.
And it's not just the attacks themselves. It's also about
What happens when the systems fail?
right, like internet outages or power failures.
This report mentions a cyclone that hit New Zealand. It caused massive outages.
Yeah.
Electronic payment systems crashed.
Wow.
People couldn't buy basic necessities.
That's a good point.
It shows how reliant we are on this technology.
So we've got vulnerable populations, we've got Big Brother,
Right.
and we've got the threat of these attacks and system failures.
That's right. That's a lot to consider.
It sounds pretty bleak.
Well, the report does offer some potential solutions.
Okay.
Ways to reduce these risks and build a more resilient system.
That's good to hear. Because let's face it,
Yeah,
we're moving toward a cashless society, whether we like it or not.
I think so.
The question is, how do we do it responsibly
Absolutely.
and make sure it works for everyone?
It just transition.
Can you explain what that means?
Sure, it means making sure no one is left behind.
Okay.
We need to address the digital divide, promote financial inclusion,
Right.
and provide support to those who are struggling to adapt.
So like providing access to low-cost or no-cost banking option.
Exactly. Making it easy for people to open accounts
Ah.
and offering financial literacy programs.
Particularly for older generations.
Yes, and those who are unfamiliar with technology.
Okay, and what about the data privacy piece?
We need strong data privacy regulations
Right.
and safeguards to prevent misuse of this data.
Strong laws.
Yes, independent oversight
Okay.
and clear ways to get justice if your rights are violated.
This just transition framework seems like a good guide for all of this.
I think so. It's about doing this thoughtfully and fairly.
But what about cybersecurity? How do we make a system that
Yeah.
can withstand these attacks and disruptions?
It's going to take a multifaceted approach. We need to invest in cybersecurity infrastructure,
Right.
strengthen our defenses,
Okay.
improve our ability to detect and respond to threats, and encourage collaboration between governments, businesses, and cybersecurity experts.
So we're building like a digital fortress around our financial system.
In a way.
Yeah.
But it's not just about building walls. We also need backup systems and plans in place.
So that if something happens,
Right, if there's an attack, a power outage, a natural disaster,
yeah,
we can minimize the disruption.
like in New Zealand,
Exactly.
maybe we need to make sure there's still access to cash.
That's one idea. We could also explore other technologies
Okay.
that aren't so reliant on centralized infrastructure.
So as we move toward a cashless future,
Yeah,
we've got a lot to think about.
absolutely. It's a big transition.
It is. Building a secure and inclusive cashless society
Right.
seems like a massive undertaking.
It is. A lot of moving parts.
The report really emphasizes this idea of business continuity planning.
Yeah, that's crucial.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure, it's basically about making sure businesses, especially those in essential sectors,
Right.
have plans in place to deal with disruptions to digital payment systems.
So like backup power if the grid goes down.
Yeah, that's one
Or alternative ways to pay.
Exactly. Think about hospitals, grocery stores, transportation.
Right. Essential services.
Those need to be prepared for anything,
Even in a cashless world.
especially in a cashless world.
It makes me think of those signs you see sometimes.
Yeah.
Cash only. Would those disappear?
Good question. The report talks about a balance
Okay.
between efficiency and resilience.
Right.
Maybe we need both.
Like a hybrid model?
Exactly. Digital payments are the norm,
Uh-huh.
but we keep some cash around just in case.
As a backup?
A safety net for emergencies.
Makes sense. So that everyone has access.
That's the goal.
This just transition idea seems to be a recurring theme.
It is. It's about doing this the right way.
Thoughtfully and fairly.
And the report also talks about the need for more research.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we need to find innovative solutions that balance all of these factors.
Efficiency, resilience, security.
All of it.
Are there any countries we can look to as examples?
Well, some countries are further along in this transition.
Like who?
Sweden and China come to mind. Each offers some lessons, both good and bad.
What about Sweden?
They've been leading the way in digital payments, but even they are realizing
Yeah.
that some people need access to cash.
So even the front runners are making adjustments.
It's a complex issue.
It highlights the need for different approaches.
Exactly. One size doesn't fit all.
We need to consider our own context.
Our culture, our economy, our technology.
It's not just about the technology itself, though, right?
You're right. It's about so much more.
Societal values, power dynamics.
Our vision for the future.
What kind of world do we want to live in?
That's the big question.
Are we willing to give up some privacy?
For convenience.
How do we make sure this doesn't worsen inequality?
These are ethical and philosophical questions.
Yeah, it goes beyond the technical stuff.
It's about the kind of society we want.
How do we balance freedom and security?
How do we use technology for good?
While protecting ourselves from its harms.
And how do we make sure everyone benefits?
Not just a few.
These are tough questions.
They are.
But I think open dialogue is crucial. We need to consider different viewpoints.
Work together to find solutions.
And create a future that is both prosperous and just.
But not everyone agrees on this, right?
True.
Yeah.
Some people think the benefits outweigh the risks.
Okay, so let's look at those arguments.
All right.
How could a cashless society be more efficient?
Well, think about it. No more handling cash. No more counting bills or going to the ATM.
Makes things faster.
Transactions are seamless.
Businesses could save money too.
Absolutely. Less security, less transportation, less accounting.
Streamlines everything.
And it can help businesses track their finances.
And what about crime?
The report mentions Denmark. They've seen a big drop in robbery and theft.
Because there's less cash to steal.
Exactly.
But there's a risk of cybercrime.
That's true. It's a different kind of crime.
So it's not a simple solution.
No, it's not. But we can mitigate those risks.
How?
By investing in cybersecurity.
Okay.
And developing strategies to combat digital crime.
And what about economic growth?
Some argue that going cashless could boost the economy.
How so?
Lower transaction costs, more efficiency. It could create a more competitive marketplace.
Okay.
Lower barriers for businesses, facilitate international trade.
And lead to job creation?
Potentially.
And governments could collect more taxes.
That's another argument.
Because it's harder to hide income.
Right, a digital trail of transactions.
So there are potential benefits.
There are.
But we have to weigh those against the risks.
Absolutely.
Technology is a tool.
It is.
It can be used for good or bad.
We need to be careful how we design this.
So what are the key takeaways here?
I think this just transition concept is crucial.
Okay.
We need to prioritize financial inclusion.
Right.
Address the digital divide. Protect data privacy.
And invest in cybersecurity.
And plan for disruptions.
Be proactive and anticipate challenges.
Exactly. And we can learn from others.
The countries that are further along.
See what they did right and wrong.
This is a global trend.
It is.
We're all in this together.
We can learn from each other and work together.
Yeah, it really is fascinating to think about all the different angles here. You know, we've been talking about the technology and the systems, but it's also about
how it affects us as people.
Yeah, our values, our psychology.
Exactly. There's a whole psychological aspect to this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's some research that suggests that when we use physical cash, we're more mindful of our spending.
Oh, that's interesting. Why is that?
When you hand over cash, you can feel it leaving your hand.
I guess so.
It creates a sense of loss. But with digital payments, it's also abstract.
Right. You just tap your card or your phone.
Exactly. The money's invisible.
So we could end up overspending.
It's possible because we're not as aware of how much we're actually spending.
It could impact debt levels.
Yeah, and financial well-being.
And what about financial literacy?
Right. How do we teach young people about money if it's all digital?
That's a good point. Maybe we need new tools.
Yeah, new resources.
To help people navigate this.
We need to teach them about budgeting and saving.
Even in a cashless world.
It's about having a healthy relationship with money.
This whole deep dive has been really eye-opening.
It's a complex issue.
We've talked about so much.
We have.
The risks, the benefits.
The impact on different groups.
The cybersecurity challenges.
The potential for government control.
The psychological effects.
It's a lot to process.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I think the main takeaway is we need to be careful.
We need to approach this thoughtfully.
Consider all the angles.
Talk about it openly.
Think about the consequences.
And make sure everyone benefits.
This just transition idea is really important.
It is. We need to make sure no one is left behind.
As we move towards this cashless future.
The question isn't just about convenience.
Right.
It's about resilience.
How do we build a system that works for everyone?
A system that's both efficient and secure.
That's a great question to think about.
It is.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to thank you all for listening.
Thanks for joining us.
I hope this has given you some food for thought.
And encouraged you to learn more.
Keep exploring these issues.
And stay curious.
Thanks again.
See you next time.